All right, welcome to Making Social Media Work for You and your business. Specifically, this is designed to be training and a webinar about social media for businesses. Very different from some of the different programs that we see or some of the most popular people that you see on social media. So just want to set that context that this is designed for businesses. So we're going to cover a lot in the next kind of 60-ish minutes. I've gone through this presentation a few different times and it always runs around that amount of space, and it is available as a replay, so you don't have to take down everything and feel like it's going to go and disappear after we're done here. But it's probably best as we're going to cover a lot of information to get your pen, paper, your notebook, silence your phone, and kind of dive into everything that we're going to go through. We're going to cover a little bit about myself and who I am. We're going to get into how we approach social media, why it's relevant, have some practical tips, and then we'll wrap up from there. So let's jump into it. Marketing first, as a definition: the action or business of promoting and selling products or services, including market research and advertising. Now, this is really broad, but I know that everyone is really familiar with this. And the idea of it is to grow your business, you want to be able to provide a better customer experience. And why marketing is relevant is because it's the only part of your business that everyone interacts with. Now, you could think about this and say, I've got technicians in the field, I've got a customer service team, but in reality, all of those people are also representing your brand, and so it matters as well. The way that myself and my team look at and approach marketing is that every opportunity that somebody has to interact with your brand is an opportunity for you to do further marketing. Now, speaking of brands, let's look at how brands are defined. There's a ton of different options here when you look at how those definitions actually work. But the way that we kind of look at it and the way that I really appreciate it is that this is the identity or the likeness of your day-to-day activities. The reputation that you have, the products and services that you offer, who you are, what you do, and how you do it really is all encompassed in your brand. And as much as we are here talking about social media today, I think this plugs into the bigger conversation of how you're representing your brand online on the platforms where most of your customers are existing and finding your business, and in reality, where people are also going to find you first. As you can tell, I love marketing. This is something that I've been passionate about through almost my whole career has been focused around marketing. And who am I? I'm Chris. I'm Chris Milton. I'm the founder of Super Social Media, and what I do for a living is actually build brands and help people with their businesses get more customers, drive sales, and get measurable results with all of their activities for marketing. So see how myself and marketing and how that kind of fits. When I get passionate about something, I dive deep and I figure out, and I like to share it with as many people as possible. Hence why we're here. Super Social Media was formatted so that we could do exactly that. All of the practices and teachings and learnings and case studies that have come out of running social media campaigns have been condensed down so that we can actually scale that a little bit more to offer better marketing services to more people. So in reality, I hope that that passion for marketing really kind of rubs off. It's worked so far. So for me, I'm really competitive. This is actually, I cropped this so you could see first place was in the background. Just so you know, we won this competition. This was a business case competition where myself and my team, you can see the two teammates there to my right, we actually put together a case on how to reinvent Lego's strategy to help gain market share. And sure enough, it had a marketing component to it so that we could actually help grow their business through further engagement. Another thing we're going to talk about today. Going through school was a very different track for me. I actually spent 6 years in the middle of my undergrad figuring out how to run a business, selling a business, working for a couple different companies, being in different industries, and really learning a lot. And then going back for my last 2 years of my undergrad, I found that this was my first time that I felt something that was as competitive and as rewarding as playing sports. And so business competitions and business simulations was how I spent most of my extracurricular time in university. And that translated into my final year actually coaching teams and putting together a really great track record of creating students that had a mindset for business and being able to see them go out and compete against other universities and win. And so this is us at the university in the Okanagan here in British Columbia that puts on a business simulation. Every year it's a different industry. One year it was cars, one year it was bikes, one year it was tablets. But this actually was a lot of fun because the sportsmanship side of it came out and each of the teams got to create their own brand, which I actually still have a couple of those t-shirts kicking around the house. So for me, everything that I've learned in business and everything that I've learned through school and running campaigns, I want to be able to have that as a shortcut for other people. And in one way or another, I've spent time working with different teams and people to create a lot of different opportunities to do this. And primarily that's come down to consulting with businesses, working with them on their marketing, working with them in an agency capacity, and everything kind of felt that there was a missing piece and that there were companies that I wanted to work with, but we just couldn't figure out a way to make it work. There were opportunities that we wanted to work on where my expertise would be exactly what a company needed, but feasibility just it didn't make any sense from a budget perspective because they were such new companies, but there was a tremendous upside. And so this is where we kind of get to social media and super social media in itself. This is one of three products that we offer as 323 Marketing. One being focused on social media, the second being focused on content marketing, and the third being focused on website development for companies looking to get leads through dedicated landing pages and through their e-commerce sites. So what is super social media and what's our kind of influence and thought process behind it? First, it structures your post to be audience focused. This really makes a difference in terms of how we start off all of our campaigns. We have an organic program that builds your portfolio and it creates opportunities to connect and engage. This in turn boosts your authority in your industry. It drives conversions so that you can make money. It stays evergreen and it's an asset to your brand. So like I mentioned off the top, I like building brands. I see that every brand's balance sheet, every company's balance sheet looks at assets and what that means for the brand and the company's overall valuation. In recent years, I've had a couple of friends who have sold their businesses and it has actually made a difference. Their social following, their social engagement, even their URL being a .com versus a .co, a .net, a .ca gave them a higher valuation. This has zero impact to your bottom line and to your asset class if you have paid advertising. That's part of the strategy to grow on social as it is on every digital platform, but it wasn't something that was measurable because the advertising can be turned on and turned off. But what can't be changed is the reputation and the history that you've actually created on these social platforms. Our goal with super social media is actually to be able to have your profiles as an asset that you can count on as a way to connect with your customers, a way to build business, a way to have your reputation management solidified, and it all comes down to having a great platform to do it. And your customers know it already. They're on social media. We take a bit of a different approach when it comes to social because we see social media channels more as distribution channels than we do as a social media platform. And so we take the same approach to keyword research, developing content, doing photography and video in a way that works more similar to content marketing and creating content for your website than it would for a typical social media campaign. It's all about connecting with your audience. So super social media is here to capture trends. Social media is a big deal. Let's kind of break it down in terms of how significant it is. The global population of 3.4 billion people, 3.4 billion have internet access. There's 2.3 billion active social media users. This means that every month these people are on a social media platform, at least one, which means 31% of the world is actually using social media. Now, let's talk about some local relevance because I know for me, the globe isn't where I'm targeting our message for our audience. So let's look at Canada. The Canadian population is 36 million, just over that. We have 33 million internet users, so it's higher than the global average. We have great infrastructure here in Canada, and there's 21 million active social media users. This means 58% of Canadians use social media. I'm sure you can relate, but maybe not to the point that you think it will impact your business. Your next lead will probably be using social media. Your next lead will probably come from someone who's checked out your social media profiles. In one way or another, that is where the attention is. Now, let's look at how we're going to make social media work for you. First, who is your target? Who are you trying to get a hold of? Who are your best customers? My philosophy when it comes to sales and when it comes to marketing is that you want to double down on your best customers possible. If I were to ask you today who your best customer is, you probably know off the top of your head exactly who it is or exactly who it should be. And let's test it out. Would you want to have more of those people? Definitely in your business. Sometimes the biggest customer you have isn't the most profitable. Sometimes the smallest customer that you have that is the most profitable is a real headache to manage. But there's always that sweet spot of that best customer. Let's help you find more of those by figuring out who your target is. Next, where are they using social? Social media is a very blended experience, and it's very different to each user, depending on what they're using social media for and where they're using social media, but also what their intent is. Maximizing each of the social media platforms is really crucial to understand how to post what and where to post it. And lastly, looking at social media and how it kind of impacts with the rest of your marketing and having some tips of how to take advantage of each platform and how to create great assets. So let's move forward here. Who is your target? Now, you've got your paper, your notebook, your pen in front of you. Write down a couple bullet points about who you think your target is. We're going to go through 4 general kind of groups and where they are and what they interact with. So the first we're looking at is young families, the second is newlyweds, the third is baby boomers, and the fourth is business owners. They're generic on purpose because I'm sure that within one of those groups we can kind of have a really high level approach of who your target market is and who those best customers could be. So when we look at who and how to define it, figure out who you're trying to reach. That's ideal. The second is focus on the target that has the best possible fit. Now, fit is an interesting thing because there are some companies who don't have the infrastructure to have a massive sales force or a call center. And maybe those high touch and high engaged customers aren't really a fit for your business. You want someone who's more self-service, someone who's able to look through your FAQs and your blog posts to find the answers they're looking for, and it's not going to make them unhappy. For me, that might be the best opportunity to be able to hunt and find some information because I'm not able to call during business hours. So it depends on who you're looking for and who the ideal person is that you want to get in there. And think about all of those core competencies that you have within your business, some of the constraints that you have within your business, and think about the customers that those things would appeal to so that you actually have a really high match. And be able to figure out your message that will appeal to them. There's a couple of rules when it comes to creating those messages. Sometimes it means using specific language. One of my favorite examples of this is Ken Jeong, which most people know as a hilarious comedian and probably one of the guys on The Hangover that kind of stole the show and from Crazy Rich Asians. But he's actually a doctor, and he got his start in comedy by going to different comedy clubs during nights that were for doctors and residents and med students. And he told the example of knowing your audience because he could tell jokes that would make that group completely crack up because it was about being a resident at a hospital, it was dealing with patients, the things that you learn and see in ER. But if it was a generic audience, it was complete crickets in the room. And I could totally relate to that because I've walked into meetings where I thought or assumed that there was a client that had a really high level of technical understanding, but they didn't at all. And they may have had somebody who shifted into a new position who was a decision maker. I've had the accountant of a company be the one that makes all decisions on marketing, and so it meant having to approach things from a very budget-oriented perspective, but also being able to understand that the technical, the creative really didn't connect with the accountant at all. And so understanding how to appeal to those best customers is really important. We're going to talk a little bit about where those people are, and where that really makes a difference is understanding that you have to choose carefully and that you don't have to be everywhere. There are some social media gurus out there that'll tell you you have to be on every single platform. I agree, you have to be there and at least have your username held as something that you could look at down the road. But in reality, really only look at the places where you know your audience is going to be. Take the time to understand what you should be doing on each platform that is relevant. Now, where are these people hanging out? These Canadians, where are they spending their time? 47% of them are on Facebook, 16% are on Twitter, 14% are on Instagram, and 12% are on LinkedIn. Now, to me, that's really irrelevant at this point because we haven't matched those with those target audiences. But the really amazing thing is that Canadians average 1 hour and 26 minutes per day on social media. That is higher than the average amount that Canadians are watching TV. That's amazing. It's absolutely amazing to understand that someone's on their phone scrolling for content more. Let's dive into it. Each of these platforms is dominated by ages 16 to 24. Typically, it's 25 to 30% of the users. So keep that in mind, but it's not the only demographic that you can hit on social. So when we look at young families, these young families are primarily on Instagram and on Facebook, which is great. It's an opportunity to be able to reach them on the two probably best advertising platforms, but it's also something where they're very visually focused. They're getting out of that 16 to 24 age group where they actually have income and disposable income and buying power overall, and they're on platforms that are very friendly for businesses being able to engage with customers. The next is looking at newlyweds, again, being focused on Instagram, but they also spend a lot of time on Twitter and Facebook for different reasons. Typically, Instagram is where they're finding themselves spending the most time. Facebook is where they're keeping in touch with friends and with family, especially older generations who are much more comfortable on Facebook. And Twitter is their newsfeed, more so than Facebook is. The most attractive demographic that I find most customers wanting to reach are baby boomers. They're a big industry, and their spending power is second to none in terms of the different categories. The baby boomers are looking to have a change in lifestyle. They're looking to spend more. They're looking to have more fun. And what I think a lot of people underestimate is that there's over 5.3 million users over 50 in Canada. Now, the habits, if you've ever watched somebody who is over 50 on Facebook, is completely different. They spend more time going through the newsfeed. They actually read everything that is posted. They engage a heck of a lot more. And they're also really focused on replying, commenting, and for a business, clicking through and buying. So the buying signals that happen for these baby boomers is much stronger than trying to get the attention of a 18 to 24, the primary demographic on all social media platforms. Now, the interesting part about that is that the ROI that you would actually see with your advertising campaign on Facebook typically happens with more follow-up baby boomers and getting your retargeting going, but it can often also have purchases on the first click rather than somebody younger trying to dig in and get more information and needing to see information before they actually click and engage the first time. This is actually one of the most entertaining things for us to do, is watching our parents on social media. They're good, bad, ugly, funny, and incredibly interesting to see how they actually engage. All right, next up, business owners. This is probably one of the only times you're actually going to see LinkedIn pop up in terms of a targeting platform. But I would caution you on that front because LinkedIn is actually one of the best places to connect with more than just business owners. You can actually connect with all of these groups in some sort of work environment or work capacity. Now, if they're a decision maker at a company and they're using LinkedIn to possibly recruit or connect with some of their colleagues. They might be on there because they've got clients or suppliers or vendors that they're interacting with. LinkedIn is actually one of the better opportunities that are growing for B2B marketing through a lot of their tools that they have, but also through B2C. So one of the campaigns that we ran that was really interesting for LinkedIn was being able to actually target people based on the type of business that they were working at. And thinking about part of our demographic was skill set. And so having people on LinkedIn, even though we were looking at a B2C transaction, we knew that we could qualify more technically savvy people. We could qualify people who were in a role that was more focused on creative and be able to have a message for them that's a consumer product, but that is targeted on a business platform. So I find that LinkedIn's tools are actually starting to work really well. It's based on the Bing platform since Microsoft purchased LinkedIn a few years ago, and it's working really well. Now, the other side of that is there's a lot of B2B traffic and opportunities to sell to business owners on Instagram and Facebook, even though they're not there for business. Thinking about their business is probably top of mind. Same thing with managers and C-level suite executives. They're thinking about business all the time. And when they have any platform open, there's an opportunity for you to actually get their attention and be able to get them into your funnel to sell on a B2B, which is great. So I think that gives you an idea of where your target market probably is, but how to maximize each of these platforms is a little bit different. All of them are designed to do the exact same thing, which is create engagement between companies, create engagement between people, and overall build out an opportunity for you to further your relationship. So thinking about that, let's look at Facebook first. The type of post that performs most is image and text. The image size is a horizontal, kind of like a standard landscape photo. The timing of when you can share and get the best engagement is typically 1 p.m. for shares, 3 p.m. for click-through rate. That's what CTR is there. Now, what's really interesting here is Facebook's algorithm is actually one of the slower ones between all of the different platforms. Facebook's algorithm will actually watch over time and promote you to the top of the news feed as there's more engagement. The staying power of your content is more important when it comes to Facebook opportunities. The engagements that you're looking for are likes, shares, and comments. So you can actually have that algorithm work in your favor and share it and serve your information to more people. And you can grow by having paid opportunities, boosting posts, creating different opportunities to target people, but also being able to send traffic to Facebook. So outside traffic that is coming from your website, clicking on a Facebook link to say, like us on Facebook, is a great opportunity to show Facebook that you've embraced the platform and that you want to have your profile on Facebook grow. What's really great about that is that if you're going to be doing advertising on Facebook in addition to your organic content, the more customers that like your page, the better data set that you will have of who's already buying from you. And so that's really important to be able to have customers like your page and being able to tell them that you can engage with them on Facebook. Letting somebody know on Facebook that you actually are active is turning into one of the better customer service channels. People are comfortable asking questions and also being able to tell them if you've got a problem, send us a message on Messenger instead of it being on a comment on a post, and engage with them, respond to them, keep those questions and keep those sometimes negative feedback to yourself in a private channel rather than it being open and on a post or on an ad, which we've seen happen before. The vanity metrics are likes, followers. They don't really help you a whole lot when it comes to generating more sales. What does is click-through rate. What's on the other side with all of these platforms is your click-through should be relevant. So if you're sharing a page, it's going to go to the page you're sharing. Think about that when you're thinking about having a specific product or a specific service. Use that specific product or service page instead of using your home page. I know that sounds really simple, but that's actually one of the common mistakes when it comes to sharing content and doing it manually as a business, is that you're not just clicking the share button on your own website, because you're not acting like you are one of your customers or one of the users on your website. So keep that in mind to make sure that it's going to the relevant place and that the information that's on the other side after they click is something that is relevant and can easily be tied back to what they clicked on. Twitter, this one's a little bit different. The type of post that is best is an image supported link. Okay, so having an image and having a link is one thing, but actually being able to create a clickable card makes it a lot easier for someone to click through. Your image size is roughly the same aspect ratio, the height and the width as Facebook. Your timing for Twitter is 5 p.m. for retweets, which is one of the best engagements you can get to grow within Twitter. And your click-through at 12 p.m. is 6 p.m. Now, if you think about this, those times of days are really kind of curious. So retweets, someone being on, let's say, their commute home at 5 p.m. and they're scrolling through their content and they're sharing what they like. At lunch hour and just before dinner is when they're actually invested and engaged and have a little bit more time to click through and to see what they're looking at. So kind of interesting there in terms of average engagement time daily. Engagements here, likes, retweets, comments. You can grow by sharing, messaging, following people. It's probably the most open platform because if you have a private profile on Twitter, it's really not going to help. So you're definitely kind of on the short list if you have a private profile, and everything on Twitter is open. It's designed to be very reactive, very quick, and it's probably most dominated by people who are sharing news, and live tweeting is a thing. The vanity stats that matter don't matter. Followers don't really matter a whole lot. You want to have the click-throughs, you want to have the retweets. That engagement really matters. You actually have less than a second to make an impression on Twitter because there are so many tweets that are coming through someone's feed because it is open. It's not filtered. It's done as a timestamp. So for you being able to open up your feed on Twitter, it's actually something that is completely done as the most instantaneous thing. And because of that, repeating is actually something that is okay on Twitter. Change up the message, change up the tweet, but don't think that sharing a link once is just going to be enough. Look at how many times you can actually repeat that message. Next, let's look at Instagram. Of course, image and video perform best here. We actually have some photo tips later on in the webinar, but the image and the video that you post, again, needs to be relevant. Keep in mind that the image size and also the crop of the video is roughly a square. It's actually a little bit different than 1080 by 1080 as they change their platform, but it's something that is shaped differently. So think about that when you're taking the photos or doing a video of what you may lose on the tops if you're shooting vertically as a portrait, or on the sides if you're shooting horizontally as a landscape, because it's going to be focused just on the middle of the image. It makes for a very easy way to consume content. It's very simple. Your eye can stay focused on the message, and it's something that I think most people are really interested in and understand now. The best time for interaction is the afternoon in your local time zone, 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Likes and comments are just air. It's oxygen to any of these posts. The more that you get, the more that Instagram's going to recommend you, and take advantage of hashtags when you're posting things, because those are actually followable as well. So you can actually have your comment and you can exchange and go back and forth and build things, but you can also have really great hashtags that people are following. So within your industry, if you're marketing, being able to talk about social media tips, for example, would be a way that people can actually follow that hashtag and see everything that is posted within that that category and that hashtag, and it's updated daily. So there are certain hashtags that I follow because I want to see everyone that's relevant and posting within that category. So really think about that. Likes and followers are not as important as your click-through. However, keep in mind when it comes to Instagram that click-through can happen in a number of different ways. If you have products, you can actually make your images shoppable. There's a plugin that is really easy to use from Shopify and from WooCommerce, and that allows you to have a really great quick interaction for someone to buy whatever's in the photo. The second part of it is being able to actually utilize stories and know that there's different Instagram content here, because within your stories, you can actually have a swipe up feature so that you can have people go to a specific URL. In your profile, you have that one URL, and it is actually my least favorite thing to see in posts, which is link in bio, because that gives you one opportunity, and it just tells everyone that you don't have evergreen content. If you have your post on Instagram recycled and shared again 2 weeks later, but you have a habit of the link in bio only being your most recent post, that post from 2 weeks ago might become relevant and be the only thing or the most popular thing that people are seeing on Instagram. And so they're coming to that post, but your link is taking them to the wrong place. So keep that in mind in terms of how to make the most of that one link. You can expand that link by using a service that I enjoy and use on my profile called Linktree. And that allows you to have one link that actually allows you to build in as many navigational links as you want after somebody clicks. Next, LinkedIn. Type of post, blog posts perform best. Video content is a second. It's slowly growing, but don't just share video content. Upload to LinkedIn. So you'll get more views and more recommendations from LinkedIn if you have the video being uploaded on their platform instead of being shared from Vimeo or YouTube. I know you want to have all of your stats and all of your views on one platform, but you'll get more views if you upload directly to LinkedIn as well as any other platform. You won't get dinged for duplicate content, but you will be able to have better reach. The best form of LinkedIn for growth is blog post format, article format. They have an incredible readership. You can also upload PowerPoint presentations to their sharing site, and one of the best ones that you can actually look up at any time is the culture deck that was posted by Netflix, which is a great insight into how to build a great HR culture for your company and understanding how Netflix does it themselves. Image size that's ideal is a little bit wider and more narrow, although this does have some flexibility and they don't crop too harshly if you share an outside link. Timing is rush hour. Personally, I think this is people making sure they're not missing anything from their colleagues before they step into the office or missing it from their boss. So if you want to jump on the bandwagon there, being able to post something at 7 a.m. before people are supposed to be in the office at 8 or 9, that's actually when it's busiest. Rush hour on the other side, I think it's the same thing. Being able to catch up on anything that has happened during the day with their colleagues is probably what they're going to be doing, and is why that traffic is oriented around rush hour. It makes sense. LinkedIn is a business platform and it rotates around the business day. Engagement, again, likes, shares, comments. You grow by leveraging blog content that we talked about, being able to comment and share valuable information on other people's posts, and leverage LinkedIn groups. There's a ton of groups that are on LinkedIn. It is not well publicized on LinkedIn, and they're not necessarily as easy to find as Facebook is for groups, but there's actually it's a great way for you to have a semi-private environment for very industry-related chat. And so that's something to explore as well in terms of finding another place to help grow. Likes on LinkedIn don't matter a whole lot, except for one thing. Because the likes drive engagement and show how much popularity there is, if you want to have your post moving forward quickly, a couple of comments, like 3 or 4 from different people, will actually move you to the top of the newsfeed for relevance, because the engagement is quite low for these networks right away. Now, it makes sense. It's not as habitual for people to be jumping on LinkedIn as much as it is for them to jump onto Facebook or YouTube, but it is something that immediately you can actually have a quick uptick just with a couple of comments and a couple of likes. So that's a great opportunity to be able to grow there. But ultimately, you want to have click-through to your website, and so share relevant stuff that you can take advantage of. Your click-through opportunities can also happen within your articles that you post, those blog articles, where it sits there for a while. It's great as evergreen content, but you're able to actually take it to the next level by pushing people to relevant pages and having multiple links buried within the article. So to summarize, let's maximize social media platforms. Remember, it takes money, it takes engagement, and it takes time to grow. Focus your efforts on the metrics that you want to obtain and create a message that will appeal to your audience. Hey, that's been reused again, hasn't it? Being able to maximize everything that is here is very clear. It's not something you're going to build overnight. You can turn on an advertising campaign that will get you leads right away, but that's not going to create the depth of understanding and building your brand and having a reputation that will help you grow over time and build that asset. It takes money to do it because you have to be creating content. You want to have someone managing it, and it takes the time because over that time and building that reputation, it actually helps your brand grow because the platforms know who is interested in your content and where they're actually growing from. As much as we love social media, and that's what we're talking about today, keep in mind that social should only be a part of your marketing mix, not all of it. Social can't replace a website, and social should support all of your other marketing efforts. Think about making sure that all of your marketing efforts are consolidated through one strategy and that what you're posting on social media is similar content to what's in your other campaigns. That could be print campaigns in newspapers and magazines. It could be your radio campaigns or podcasts. It could be your TV campaigns or your YouTube videos. Think about what you have that's going on elsewhere and make sure that your social media fuels that and that everything is pushing back to the same place. All right, seems like now we're getting to the meat and potatoes, but we set everything up. So take a deep breath and we're going to shift gears into some practical tips and how we've actually structured the super social package and the theory behind why we're doing what we're doing. So we've got the platforms out of the way. We've got your customer information out of the way. Use those things as context when we're looking into these next steps. So what is super social media? We talked about this already, so we'll just fly through this. It structures your post to be audience focused. It creates an opportunity for you to connect and engage. It boosts your authority in your industry, drives conversions to make you money. It stays evergreen, builds over time, and it's an asset to your brand. So let's look at some practical tips. One is for engagement. The second is for photo and video. These are the things that get me really excited because this is how you can be completely differentiated from your competition. I can already hear my tone changing and my energy changing when it comes to this because it's so easy to just put in a different type of effort and take a different approach when you want to be able to differentiate yourself and have awesome results. So let's get into engagement first. We're going to touch on social media tips for Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and then touch on reputation management. I really want you to focus on that part of it because it does matter. First, treat social like it's real life. Be realistic, okay? The reason that I mention this is because I think a lot of people underestimate what anything online is supposed to do. It's not going to be replacing your salesperson in your store or your sales rep that's going to visit clients or your customer service person on the phone. But being able to take that approach of making it feel like it's real life and putting the same standards into what you're doing is really important. So for Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, there's different ways to have best practices. Let's look at the first. For Facebook, first off, make sure you have your business page that is set up. Your business page allows you to have a lot more information that is there, have a stronger bio, hours of operation, your overall rating, and as I mentioned earlier, one of your most fastest growing customer service channels, Messenger. The responsiveness on Messenger is actually the most heavily weighted option of how you're ranked. And it says right there in terms of how you're doing. Typically responds in minutes, typically responds in hours, typically responds instantly. And that instantly thing is very simple to set up. So you have an instant message that says, we'll get back to you. We'll provide information. Or it can be as sophisticated as having a full chatbot that goes through all the different options that you can have and make a very interesting FAQ process. Next, for Twitter, post frequently and repeat. So I know I mentioned this before about the repeated message. Twitter has a very easy interaction, but it has very low engagement. So once you see that most people are following a couple hundred people, you can imagine how diluted your newsfeed gets. Take advantage of that by having more posts more frequently. The other part of it for Twitter is understand that very little engagement happens outside of the newsfeed. So you think about most of these opportunities for social media as being rooted in your platform and very heavily weighted for how people are seeing your platform, how people are seeing your profile on each platform. But in reality, your user pages on Twitter are rarely looked at unless you're sending direct traffic there. When you're engaging on Twitter, everything is oriented around the newsfeed. So keep that in mind. That's why you want to be frequent, because you can get lost really easily with a couple people posting, especially if there's an event going on, or you follow a lot of journalists that are covering different topics. It can just get totally lost in oblivion, and make sure you can have more opportunities to stay up top. One of the tools that I like using for this is called Recur Post, and it's something that I think is really helpful for a lot of people. Actually, one of the follow-up emails you get to this webinar actually gives all of the tools and tips that we use day to day, which I think will be helpful for you to understand how we make sense of this, and that it's not all manual. It's not just hustling in the background. Next, when it comes to treating social media like real life, for Instagram, you've got that one link. Use it wisely. It's very visually focused, and Instagram stories are awesome for 3 reasons. One, it differentiates you because not everyone uses social media, the Instagram stories. It allows you to have content that expires, which is number 2. And number 3, it allows you to have that swipe up function and save it as a highlight. And so that actually allows you to have different highlights, and at the top of your profile, being able to highlight, for some people it's different trips and vacations, but for businesses, you can actually have a highlight circle for each of your products and services. So you can actually have a product demo that saves stories. Great ninja tip there. Next up, YouTube. So this is the first time that I've put YouTube in here because it actually comes off as it's the second largest search engine. So it functions less like social media because it's a video search engine more so than anything else. But it is actually a humongous community, and it's great for social sharing. It easily embeds and increases the engagement for your content. The search results on Google can come up native with YouTube videos if you've actually tagged them right. So it's a perfect synergy between being a social network where you can comment, like, engage, and share, and an SEO tool that allows you to have better search results and better content on your website. But think about YouTube, that it's people. You know, as much as we hear trolls about negative comments and things like that, there's real people there, and you can actually find a lot of gems and get a lot of feedback in the comments. The live stream portion of YouTube is also really great because you have an opportunity to be live and have Q&A running immediately to the right, and you can actually see that there's a lot of companies that do this with customer service and feedback. So take YouTube seriously. Don't be completely overwhelmed by making the videos, but we are going to talk about videos as a tool for visual graphics. Okay. Lastly, best practices overall: be kind, be consistent. Remember that it's permanent when you're posting it. Even if you delete it later, there's still some bot out there that is watching everything that's happening on social media. That's how all these deleted images of scandals get pulled back into the news. Be responsive, but don't engage with trolls. Understand how the best way that you can engage with potential customers, and you can even work ahead of time to think about canned results of what you want to say and when you want to say it and what situations would be best to respond. Teach your team, teach your customer service people, teach your salespeople how to respond to different scenarios and situations. But make sure you keep it positive. And that leads us to reputation management. Shoot for the 5-star reviews. There is a great interview, I forget where it was done, with the founder of Airbnb, and they talked about how they could actually build out a 6-star, 7-star, 8-star, 9-star, 10-star, 11-star, and 12-star review out of 5. and worked backwards to actually see and make a 5 out of 5 feel feasible. This is something that is really interesting because our society now is so focused on reviews. It's amazing to think that an Uber driver will get less pickups allocated to them in a busy area if they've got less than 4.3. Now, I don't know about you, but when I was in school, getting an 86% on something was extremely good. Unfortunately, negative reviews stick and everyone is expecting a 5 out of 5. And so people are going above and beyond. I think this is helping with, society being positive overall. But just keep in mind that negative reviews stick, and you want to be gaining positive reviews with happy customers and helping them. The benefit of positive reviews is that you get social proof. You have an opportunity for someone who doesn't know you to be able to build on someone else's comments so that they can understand that they want to work with you more so than your competitors. And that's how you can actually repurpose each of these reviews as testimonials. There's a bunch of great user-generated content platforms that do just this. There's a couple that we love to use for our e-commerce campaigns with products being pulled from social feeds. One of them is called Pixly, the other one's called Yotpo. They're both designed to create really great experiences on a shopping page where you can see how somebody is using your product in real life, more so than just saying, it was great, 5 stars. Well, that doesn't help anybody. So you can see that Amazon is doing this as well with how you can upvote reviews. And this is how you want to be able to leverage this. Incentivize this if you can. Try not to do it too publicly because it's pretty frowned upon, but a gentle reminder is usually best to get better reviews out of your businesses. Now, the one thing when it comes to reputation management and a lot of this, again, I'm going to say it again, don't engage with the negative, don't blast people back, and really do not take that as a sense of pride that you told someone off on social media or on some of the review platforms. It doesn't go away. If someone's going to give you a negative review, address it, stay calm, figure out how to solve the solution, how to solve the problem, but don't get into a battle. We went shopping at a store that had a particular product we wanted to check out when we were looking for beds, and it was amazing to see how this company had a 1-star review, and it was because the owner jumped on every single comment, even a 4 out of 5. He would get into a pissing match about why it wasn't a 5 out of 5. He defended himself to the death when it came to anyone's opinion, and it's tragic to watch and to see. But my wife and I going into the store meeting the guy, it made perfect sense as to why that was happening on social media. We saw it. It was very sad, and we did not purchase anything from him. Nor did we ask him any questions because in person we thought that he might yell at us in the store, and I don't want to ruin my afternoon. So keep in mind that when somebody sees something like that, it bleeds into all different aspects of your business. So let's get into practical tips for photo and video. When to use professional photographer, how you can actually use this to benefit, building a complete portfolio, and how to choose a good photographer. Okay, so let's start with when to use photography. You want to showcase and show off your business, that's for sure. And it can be really time consuming and it can be really challenging to try to get great photos. Photography is an art and it is a skill, and it is much more than someone just picking up a camera. The editing that you can do, the resizing, as we talked about, with all of those different photo sizes is key to being able to have a great positive response on social or anywhere you're posting your photos online. And I think that's the other key. This actually helps out with your business as well on your website. Everything that we have here, we include photography in all of our packages because we know how essential it is. And so all of the full service packages that we offer with Super Social include photography. It's great for your promotional material. It's great for your team photos because you can probably get better team photos if it's a pro doing headshots than just you picking up the camera. Completed projects that you've done, anything that's under construction or in progress. One of the most interesting things for people to follow and engage with are seeing something from start to finish and understanding your work, your ethic, the whole idea of watch us work. and being able to visualize your message. A restaurant being able to have photos on their menu instead of just text, that it sells more of whatever's in the photo than just what's there as text. It makes perfect sense. Next, you can benefit from photography from creating shareable content. Okay, get your visuals out there. You can build your reputation, and ultimately your photo and your product and your service go hand in hand. If you've got great photography, it actually makes your brand look like you're more reputable. It looks like you care about quality, and I think we all want to have people assume that about our products without having to go into a long story about how we create quality. Being able to instantly do that because a picture is worth 1,000 words makes perfect sense. Remember that videos make a bigger impact. I won't bore you with the math, but effectively there are multiple photos in each second of a video. And so you can imagine how much engagement there is. When we talk about creating content, and scrolling through a video is harder to pass because it's moving. So in your news feed, when you're trying to create that thumb-stopping content, video can be a great way to do that. So videos can be fantastic, and we have a whole video strategy on how to create a great video and edit it so that it goes a long way. Video has given us way better results on social media for engagement, for click-through, for leads. One of the best case studies we did in the last year, we had one video that we used over the course of 3 months that was broken out into 21 different micro clips, and it actually got us to 1,200 leads for a product before it was even launched. And so it worked really well to be able to show off video and grow and have people buy into the idea of what we're trying to create. ROI is better than ever on video. Like I mentioned with LinkedIn, Facebook as well, you actually get bonus views and get more ad impressions when you have it as a video than as you do in a photo, which is really cool. So take that advantage. How to use photography to build a portfolio. You want to be able to document your company's growth. And so use this as a sales tool, showcase your craftsmanship, and just be behind the scenes of what you do and how you do it. Action photos are great, candid photos are fantastic, showing your team working, you working. Explain your process of how you create what you create and you're the best in the industry, and share your stories. Inspire your new clients to understand what you did, your intent behind your process. Maybe there's history behind your company and how you've done something over time. We're working with a company who has a very long-standing track record of over 40 years. And so one of the things we want to be able to do is have that nostalgic representation in our videos of where they came from and how they've grown over the years and how they've been able to survive in an industry where there's a lot of turnover. It makes sense. So you're probably thinking, that's great, we've got all this photography, I understand it, who's going to do it? And so here's a couple of tools a couple of tips to think about for how you choose a photographer. Rooted in the idea of, in your biography, who's telling your story, right? You want to be able to do as much as you can to critique a photographer and look at their style, understand their pricing. Does the turnaround time meet your expectations? The best example of this, I think, is vlogs on YouTube. Daily vlogs need daily turnaround time, not a 3-week editing window. And in what format will you receive the photos? Do you have the raw files? Do you have the finished files? Are they sized appropriately for where you're distributing them on your website, on every social media platform? Make sure that everything is there and that you can actually engage in it. And lastly, make sure you own the rights. This is something with a lot of different creatives that I think it's hard often to understand how you're actually getting all the information and that you're getting all of the assets and that they are yours and they're not going to be used in the future. Lastly, it's time to take action. Super social media was structured in a way that, as I mentioned, there were opportunities that we couldn't take advantage of as an agency. There were things that we couldn't do as a consultant because we weren't actually executing on it. And super social media is designed to actually fit all of the different needs in there. One of the things that was the hardest to do as an agency was turn away business because they didn't have budget. And creating things is something that we have to do, and it costs money to create things, and we're not here to be pro bono. And when we find out that there's an opportunity for us to work with someone, we didn't want to have to turn them away because they didn't understand or they didn't have the budget to meet. And so we created this DIY course, which is amazing. This online training is something that is our roadmap and actually what all of our employees have to take first. It is an online training where you have lifetime access to the course. In your first year, you have weekly group coaching and Q&A that actually is available for you as well for lifetime. And there's team customization available. So the other thing that we kept losing on with our agency packages were people who are doing social media in-house. And so the DIY package is actually designed to be DIY for solopreneurs and people who haven't really developed a budget yet, but it's also as a custom platform for in-house teams to consolidate your best practices and being able to have an encyclopedia of everything that your team needs to be able to do and everything that you need to know for every situation. And so this will be something that you can take and make your own. We can actually fully customize the course to be totally white labeled for your company with your brands, your brand standards, and what you've done over the years, and actually come out and roll it out and do training as well. So the DIY is designed to be really flexible. The next two that we've actually turned into are both fully managed. Okay, so for your super social media platform, the super package is a fully managed package for up to 3 profiles. You have 10 posts per month organically. Photo shoots are included. Your reporting is included. We take care of the community management, as doing any messaging, responding to comments, and we do this as a way to actually build your brand through social media. If there's advertising that's going to be done on top, we do it at a 30% management fee, which is pretty low industry-wise, especially if you're not having a huge ad spend. And for all of this, we're looking at how we can improve your brand and have an asset that is your social media profiles that you can count on for your company and your business to grow. So this is actually a great package. It's something that our sales team is happily ready to talk to anyone about. We've got a team of 5 that works with us to make sure that everyone is totally taken care of, and regardless of which package that you take, you're actually going to get someone checking in to make sure that you've got everything that you need and that everything is meeting your standards, and that we're delivering on everything. The reporting dashboard that we use is phenomenal, so you can actually see over time how you plug into everything that you're doing. Like I mentioned off the top, Super Social Media is one of the packages that we have. We also do content marketing and websites. And so this dashboard is designed to actually plug everything into one reporting place for all of your marketing activity. We don't like messing around with understanding where your traffic is coming from. And in reality, we want to be able to make sure your social is feeding off of everything else that you're doing, and it's also supporting the other activities that you have going on. And lastly, this is our big, huge package, the Hero package. It is fully managed, up to 5 profiles. It is actually way over 10 posts per month. This one will actually include 3 to 5 posts per week for every platform that you have. The reporting dashboard is exactly the same. You actually have a video package included every 3 months that we come out and record for your company. You have a monthly photo shoot to make sure you've got all of your content looking exactly as it should be, and it's a fantastic look for the company. And 25% of any advertising is charged as a targeting and management fee for us to take care of everything. So you might be asking, hey Chris, this doesn't make sense. I've been on other webinars and someone sold me a course. I've been on other webinars and someone sold me a consulting package. I've been on other webinars and they just want full service, full service, full service. This is designed to be very different. And we did that on purpose because of what our experience has been. My experience has been pretty bad, being able to have people not fit in where they could to gain the business that they can within social media or with any of the packages that we have. And so all of our package have this DIY component. I would love for everyone to be students of what we do, be able to grow with many opportunities and figure out how to do everything in-house. And I'm very happy to have myself and my team support everyone on their DIY journey. I think the most efficient you can be if you understand the creative part of it with creating videos, creating content, and creating photos, doing it in-house is probably the most efficient and the best way for you to scale. But I also understand that there's a lot of people out there who really have more time focused on their business, which you should. I totally think that you should be focused on your business more than anything else. And social media might be something that is totally beyond what you want to be able to do. And so having fully managed packages that meet your needs are there for a reason. We want to be able to make sure you're totally taken care of, and you get a session with us to go through any questions you have. We actually plan all of the content ahead of time. You'll learn all of that in the course if you take the course. In the same way that we would plan out an SEO campaign or a content marketing campaign before we actually come and create the photos and videos. So it's a solid package that's fully taken care of. You get to sit back, relax, and have a beautiful social media profile that everyone will love. And we're happy to get you in where you fit in. So after the video, there'll be some follow-up emails. One is about the tools, one is about the process, one is about feedback for this webinar, and getting a better idea of what we can do to help you grow with your social media. I know one of these is going to fit your needs. We've kind of designed it that way so that you can't say, no, that's not for me. This is designed to be something that takes your social media to the next level. Let us know how we can support you in your journey with social. This is focused on growing your business. And if you're ready, you can actually buy the course now and start the first module today. So I look forward to seeing you on the other side, and thank you very much for your time. Have a great day.